Technically part of Europe, Iceland is truly in its own bubble. Films such as Interstellar and Star Wars chose to film in this beautiful piece of land as part of a different planet. It's truly mind-blowing. Everywhere you look can be straight from a postcard. It wasn't just the tourist areas, you could basically pull over anywhere along the highway and snap a shot on your camera. I had the opportunity to visit Iceland a while back. I invited my friend Joellen to come, and boom, 2 weeks later, we were exploring all that Iceland had to offer. In this video, I wanted to share my experiences of how we spent 5 days in this beautiful country. The names are tough to pronounce, so if I make a mistake, you can let me know in the comment section below. We were there in October, so plan accordingly for weather and the time of year you visit. We took a rental car at the airport for our 5-day excursion, not a 4x4, just a standard automatic vehicle, so keep that in mind for all the places we visited during this trip. After getting our rental, we headed straight for a snorkeling tour in Thingvellir National Park. This is usually the first stop along what's known as the Golden Circle. Within Thingvellir is the Silfra, which is basically a crack between the North American and Eurasian tectonic plate. It boasts some of the clearest water in the world. The water was incredibly cold and we dressed in our dry suits for a quick swim. Our next stop was the Stroker Geyser. One thing I would recommend is downloading Google Maps for offline usage, as this was super helpful in us navigating in the car. We did visit in October and it was unusually warm and sunny for this time of the year, so do your research and plan accordingly. Stroker constantly erupts every 5 minutes, and it should be a must stop along your trip given its close proximity. The last stop of the day was Gullfoss. While not as spectacular as something as Niagara Falls in Canada, it is still quite remarkable how the surrounding landscape is completely flat and you can drive up to such an epic landscape.
Oh, look at that rainbow! Oh man. We'll try to get over there.
Anytime you see the word foss, this means waterfall in Icelandic, so you know this is a waterfall. It's free, 24/7, and is about an hour and 40 minutes away from Rekjavik. I got quite a bit of drone footage in this area, so please enjoy. We got into Reykjavik after 8 p.m. that night and found a pretty sleepy city by then. Of course, it was a weekday, but it was surprising to see that many of the shops had already closed. Day 2 began by exploring some coffee shops and bakeries before leaving for Reykjavik hot springs. There's plenty of guides detailing how to get there, and at the end of the 40-minute hike, you can really enjoy yourself in bathing in a hot spring on the side of a mountain. I truly enjoyed this more than the Blue Lagoon. Just pack in your bathing suit, a towel, some snacks and drinks. That way you can thoroughly enjoy your time here. I'd budget at least 2 hours, as the hike is going to be about 40 minutes. And you're going to want to spend at least 30 minutes here at the site. It really is quite amazing. It looks like they might have horse riding tours for you to take, and it's quite cute with the ponies. Icelandic breed ponies there. But really, I really did enjoy the hike as much as I did enjoy the hot springs at the end. At this point in the day, we were behind schedule, so we headed straight for Hyneman Thunder plane crash site. In 1973, a United States Navy plane ran out of fuel and crash landed. The whole crew survived, and years later, we have a cool photo op for our Instagram pages. This is a pretty famous spot now, and if you head along the one and only highway east, you really can't miss it. Again, I would recommend saving the location ahead of time on your Google Maps. Once you are parked, the walk is a straightaways affair. The black sand beach is mostly flat, so it's a relatively easy walk in the summer or the spring, fall times. Again, check the weather for when you are visiting. If you are going in the winter, definitely get all-wheel drive and plan accordingly. Hyneman Thunder. I messed around with flying the drone here. There's some strict rules in certain tourist areas around flying drones. And so like in any country, I'd recommend checking in on that before you fly it. But yeah, this was a couple years ago, so I don't think it was as strict back then. We ended the night close to Reynisfara, where we had dinner at a local pub. I haven't talked too much about food at this point, but it really isn't cheap. Food and accommodation is definitely the bigger ticket items of a self-guided Iceland trip if you plan on eating out. Dishes are largely 30 to 40 US dollars, and if you add a drink to it, it can definitely go up higher. Of course, there are budget ways of getting food, but that's the price for eating out. We got extremely lucky in October as the night had clear skies and we wandered around the beach areas. This was my first time seeing the northern lights, and it was definitely worth bringing the tripod around to capture these moments. We messed around with photo ops around Reynisfara Beach in the daytime. We continued east towards Jökulsárlón Glacier Lagoon. Huge chunk of ice would break apart from the glacier in the distance. After we got enough photos and flew the drone for several minutes, we started heading back, and this was as far east as we went in Iceland. Iceland is a place that you can stop anywhere and the geography can look like you're on a different planet. We originally planned to continue east towards the town of Hoffen, but really had to alter our plans because there was a flash flood that knocked down a bridge, which connected the hotel and the other side of the country. So we took it easy, spending more time in this area. Again, the winds were very powerful, so do take caution if you're planning on flying a drone. Because of our detour with the weather condition, we settled in an inn with a really good review. This turned out to be one of my favorite moments of the trip because after dinner we drove around and stumbled upon a bridge and a river. I thought this would be a great spot to see the sunrise tomorrow, and it turns out on day 4 this bridge and river was the famous Fialagar Canyon. Despite me googling this name, I still have no idea how to pronounce it. I was foolish and thought I could cross this river and hike up through the bottom of the canyon, while there was a clearly laid out trail at the top of the canyon. So long story short, the water is extremely cold and I had wet hiking boots for the rest of the day. There's actually a really cool trail up and around the edge of the canyon that's definitely worth a visit. Afterwards, when I checked the Instagram locations, there's some really nice vantage points. This was our last full day in Iceland and it was time for us to head back, despite how sad we were. We stopped by Skogafoss, which is quite the spectacular waterfall tucked into the side of the mountain.
So we're headed into this now. There's gonna be a lot of wet stuff here.
What's cool about this waterfall is you can climb up some ladders along the side of the mountain and head up to see the waterfall from up top. You can very much enjoy the waterfall from down below, but having a second vantage point makes this quite a unique spot. As we made our way back, the second waterfall of the day was Skogafoss. From afar, it looks like any other waterfall until you realize you can walk behind the waterfall. One of the things that I really appreciate about Iceland is that in the moment you're hiking, you're going through this, and you're like the water's hitting your face, the wind's blowing against your hair, and whatever else. But sometimes you just take a step and look back and just see how beautiful everything is. It really makes everything worthwhile. There's actually a secret waterfall number 3 just a few minutes next to Skogafoss. It's called Gullfoss. There's a section where you have to step carefully on some rocks or just get your feet wet and hop into the water. Even in a country filled with amazing waterfalls, this was a special hidden gem.
That is crazy. Oh my god. Damn. Wow. Just a wet mess right now, man.
From here we took it easy and drove back towards the airport and of course our last stop, the Blue Lagoon. We didn't want the trip to end, but it was nice to treat ourselves at the spa. This is one place you will definitely want to make a reservation early to avoid any conflicts and get the time you want. And that wraps up this video. Thank you for watching until the end. Finally, a few tips. You don't need cash everywhere in the country accepts credit cards, so make sure you bring one that has no foreign transaction fees. Rent a car. We spent 5 days in this country and it's very accessible. Of course, we did get lucky with the weather in October. Download Google Maps for offline storage. Iceland is magical, and to immerse yourself in the country, you don't need to check social media every other minute or buy a data plan. Budget. When you are in Iceland, go ahead and spend money on food and drinks. The food is quite good, but it's not cheap. If you've budgeted, then you know how much you can spend and you can enjoy your spending guilt-free. Dress appropriately. We experienced everything from sunny days needing sunglasses and sunscreen to freezing along the beach. So make sure you are wearing enough clothes or have enough layers, as it's going to get wet as well.